Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching DZAIR News Live, and these are our main headlines. The expected Financial Act of 2016 has stirred massive controversy and is apparently facing utter rejection before it was even presented on MPs Plus. Trade Minister Bakhti Bel'ayeb spoke out some outstanding issues related to the national trade sector. And later on in our news program, peace talks over Syria's civil war are expected to resume in less than a week in the Austrian capital, Vienna. Welcome again, and we begin our news edition with the expected Financial Act of 2016 that has stirred massive controversy and is apparently facing utter rejection before it was even presented on MPs. This undoubtedly makes MPs obliged to find a way to call off this project, which harms first and most of all the Algerian citizens' purchasing power. Karim Zakri.
Before even presenting it on MPs, the Financial Act for the year 2016 made a lot of fuss among people who complained a lot about the expected increase in fuel and electricity prices. A strong rejection for the suggestions of the first draft of 2016's Financial Act, which will undoubtedly make MPs obliged to find a way to abort this project, which harms first and most of all the Algerian citizen. This act will harm the citizens and their purchasing power, and it would increase their suffering. I believe as the citizens they should not hold us accountable for their reliance on hydrocarbons. Dear MPs, at least once take your full responsibility which the citizens delegated you for. We want less prices, not more. In spite of the strong promotion which the Finance Ministry made to introduce this project, as though it is Algeria's only way out of the economic crisis, and persuasion attempts that it won't affect the citizens' purchasing power, the address remained vague and unconvincing. We have spoken about gas and electricity, but between 30 to 40% of Algerians who have only fuel lamps and a refrigerator are not going to be concerned by this increase. MPs are well aware of the huge responsibility delegated to them by the citizens, and despite the pressure by the government and the Ministry of Finance to pass the act, it is questionable that the MPs are going to be able to foil the act, because the Ministry of Finance is determined more than ever after its 2006 act was called to a halt. It's my duty and my role to defend. These increases must be studied and bound with the law. Everything should go with the individual income. This procedure shouldn't be approached by the government because it will be a heavy burden on citizens. It's considered an easy way for the government. There must be consciousness by all. Not every single time we speak about an increase we declare war. I personally think that any procedure taken by the government will study it beforehand. Notwithstanding the importance of next year's Financial Act, which might guarantee a good management of the government's expenses, the project clashes with a massive rejection which went beyond citizens of the capital, and MPs now are put before a decisive challenge to either satisfy the government, the Algerian citizen, support the purchasing power of the simple worker, or the public state budget. The coming days shall bear witness on the choice which MPs' hands are voting for.
While as a guest on the national radio, Trade Minister Bakhti Bel'ayeb spoke out some outstanding issues related to the national trade sector, the most important of which was Algeria loses $18 billion in illegal commercial exchanges, 30% of it yearly revenues. Mustafa Azzouk.
around of 30% of Algeria's revenues, which are estimated at 60 billion American dollars a year, are transferred abroad illegally. A simple mathematic trick shows that $18 billion are transferred through uncertified international commercial exchanges. These huge numbers only reflect the state of anarchy and disorders within the national foreign trade sector. The government has implemented a series of measures to tackle the worrying phenomena of illegal money transfer, which reached $18 billion a year. While as a guest on the national radio, the Minister of Commerce, Mr. Bakhti Belaib, harshly blamed the economic partners for escalating the economic situation, saying they established and launched front enterprises abroad in which they are the seller and the buyer at the same time.
Chez nous, les entreprises étrangères sont moins impliquées.
Foreign enterprises operating in the country are slightly involved in the process. Likewise, national enterprises are involved through creating front companies abroad, allowing them to covertly to transfer hard currency.
C'est eux-mêmes qui déterminent le prix du vendeur. Ils sont vendeurs et acheteurs en même temps sur.
According to the figures and numbers revealed by the Minister of Trade, 24 violations of the foreign trade legislation were registered in the first semester of the current year, during which $40 billion worth of imported goods were recorded.
Always with the same context after the controversy that was stirred concerning essential and basic food prices, the Minister of Commerce, Bakhti Belaib, has reassured the citizens regarding this particular point, saying that prices of bread and dairy products will not witness a hike, as he put it. Mr. Belaib, speaking through the national radio, stated that there is a cooperation project bringing the government and the economic partners together to work towards supporting needy families only. The minister also spoke out about opening 8 major wholesale markets nationwide, 3 of which will be delivered before the end of the current year. A one-of-a-kind forum was created today to gather several legal, finance and economic experts from both Algeria and France to discuss issues of the hour. The works were launched in the presence of Abdelmajid Sellini, the president of the Bar of Algiers, and the ambassador of France, Bernard Emy. Karim Fazakri.
The bars of Algiers and Paris co-organized a 2-day meeting at the International Campus of Algiers to discuss issues of the hour regarding the world of investment, free circulation rights, and the freedom of exercise in the profession of lawyer. Several legal, finance, and economic experts, as well as business leaders of both countries, are taking part in this meeting. This forum was made so as to sort of accompany and discuss together the legislative and regulatory text and the organization of all what is investment and technology transfer. The participants are both Algerians and French, who would both bring the fruit of their appreciation and experience in order for us to be able to compare the two expertise for deriving the most important recommendations which could improve the direction of economic flow in addition to industry, culture, training and healthcare, and the right of free circulation for citizens.
Comparer, si vous voulez, les deux expériences.
The works of the forum were launched this Sunday morning in the presence of Abdelmajid Sellini, the president of the Bar of Algiers, and from Paris, the ambassador of France, Bernard Emy. The program includes debates on various themes and which had been animated by Mohamed Saghir Babas, President of National Economic and Social Council CNES, Martin Juilliard, Head of the Economic Department of the Embassy of France in Algiers, Ahsan Haddad, CEO of the National Investment Fund NIF, Adlan Muslim, CEO of AXA Insurance Algeria, and many others. It is worth noting that the meeting is the first of its kind that the Algiers Bar organizes with its Parisian counterpart.
In a press release, the Ministry of National Defense said Sunday that more than 800 kilograms of cannabis and a sizable quantity of tobacco were seized Saturday in Gardaya province in southern Algeria by detachments of the People's National Army as part of the sustained fight against cross-border smuggling and organized crime. Mohamed Barazwan.
As part of measures to beef up border security in the fight against organized crime, a detachment of the People's National Army ANP, coming under the operational sector of Gardaya, 4th Military Region, rounded up on November 7, 2015 in El Guerrero region in southern Algeria a drug trafficker aboard a truck laden with a quantity of cannabis amounting to 818 kilograms and seized a sum of money totaling over 210,000 dinars. Furthermore, another ANP detachment arrested a smuggler and seized a tourist vehicle and a quantity of smuggled tobacco whose value is estimated at around 80,000 dinars, said the ministry statement. Elsewhere, in the level of the 6th Military Region, an army detachment coming under the southern operational sector of Taman Rasset and in coordination with the elements of the Algerian Customs Services seized 41,000 liters of fuel and over 16,000 of psychotropic drugs meant for smuggling, added the Defense Ministry statement.
Moving on to world news, Egypt's tourism industry is reeling from suggestions that a bomb may have brought down a Russian plane shortly after it took off from the popular holiday resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. Moscow has pulled over 11,000 Russian tourists from Egypt in the past 24 hours. Some 80,000 Russians have been stranded in Egypt since the Kremlin grounded all flights to the country on Friday following the crash of a Russian airliner in the Sinai Peninsula. The crisis risks dealing a huge blow to Egypt's tourism industry, but also to Russian tour operators. Peace talks over Syria's civil war are expected to resume in less than a week in the Austrian capital, Vienna. The announcement was made by Germany's Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier at a conference in Hamburg on Friday, saying the statement issued at the end of the previous round of the talks on Syria in Vienna will be the basis for the November 12th meeting. Usama Snossi.
Germany's Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier says in less than a week the next round of talks on Syria will be held in the Austrian capital Vienna. He made the announcement at a conference in Hamburg on Friday, saying the statement issued at the end of the previous round of talks on Syria in Vienna will be the basis of the November 12th meeting. The previous negotiations were held on October the 30th, gathering top diplomats from 17 countries, including Iran, as well as envoys from the United Nations and the European Union. The participants agreed on respect for Syria's unity and sovereignty, as well as the eradication of extremist groups operating in the Arab country, stressing that the political process to end the bloodshed there will be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned. The top German diplomat added that the goals outlined in the final statement appeared to be idealistic to some extent under the current circumstances. However, the document forms a roadmap for cooperation among all concerned parties. Participants at the previous round of talks remained at the loggerheads over the role to be played by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in the country's political process. While certain Western and non-Western countries insist that Assad cannot be part of any future government in Syria, Iran and Russia say only Syrian people are to decide about such internal issues.
In other world news, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has noted that the laws governing media activities must be clear, stressing that the country needs a well-defined media system. He added that if the law is clear, no group would be able to play with media freedom using a word or a single sentence as excuse. The Iranian president further said closing down and suspending media must be the last words in media jargon, adding just in the same way that the need to media institution and the need to a media system as well. Rouhani made the comments in an address to the inaugural ceremony of the 21st Press Exhibition in Tehran on Sunday. The 21st edition of the annual event is being held at Tehran's Imam Khomeini Musalla. After a year and a half since the first case was reported in the West African country, Sierra Leone has been declared Ebola-free 42 days after the last case was cleared. The announcement is one further step forward in the fight against the 2014 outbreak. Since the start of the outbreak, the virus has infected a stunning 8,704, killing 3,589, including 221 health workers. Of the three West African countries hit hardest by the outbreak, Sierra Leone was the hardest hit. The West African Ebola outbreak is finally starting to approach manageable levels after nearly 18 painful months and over 11,000 lost lives. Way back to Algeria now. Private sales have recently found their way into the Algerian territory, this time from Algiers. An all-women private sale market was organized for and by women as a one-of-a-kind initiative to encourage national production through women's craftsmanship. Hints Menaras.
Jewelry, handicrafts, cakes, confectionaries, traditional baskets, household linens, personalized crockery, bio soap, clothing, antiques, and much more with one thing in common: all handmade. What's more impressive is the fact that they were made by women, either housewives, women working full-time, half-time, young or elderly. These women were the focus of the private sale organized under the theme Algerian Women to encourage national production. Oh, and men access was denied.
I decided to organize this kind of event that I called بنات بلادي ينميو منتوج بلادي in order to show to the world, to show to Algerians, and so that Algerian women can and make a lot of great job, a lot of great work. All is handmade, and we had a lot of clients, a lot of visitors that really enjoyed the moment, really enjoyed to see that women can do this.
The general theme of this exhibition is that we are dealing with our own and Algerian production. Okay, so we try to improve. We try to show the Algerian women and what they can do.
A one-of-a-kind initiative launched via Facebook, much to the delight of the devoted clientele, who flocked to the place of the event for some good old shopping at affordable prices, and boy, it was worth the money.
Through the help of social media, we have managed to promote our products, which resulted in a hike in our sales.
باسمي أنا وباسم بناتي بأن هذه المبادرة حقيقة تفرحني.
This particular initiative is overwhelming. I encourage the organizing association to be more active.
فأنا نشجعهم في حوالي كل أسبوع ونكون معهم.
هذه المبادرة مليحة بزاف.
This is a very important initiative through which we can find various original things that cannot be found elsewhere. I usually partake in this kind of events upon going through Facebook notifications and ads. Various things are showcased in this event, including traditional sweets, clothes, and so on.
They love what we do, for all of them. Okay, because this is manual work, this is handicraft, and they love it. They are here, they encourage us.
Algerian women certainly have the talent, passion, and creativity, proven to the Algerian society as a whole that if given the opportunity, they can certainly do wonders. Pending authorities concerned, a much-awaited gesture to promote craftsmanship through these private sales, which now represent the pride and joy of these women.
And finally, in a piece of information, TP Mazembe of the Democratic Republic of Congo was crowned club champions of Africa for a fifth time after a 2-0 victory over Algiers in the second leg of the Champions League final. The goals came from the Tanzanian Samata and Ivory Coast Roger Assail in front of the home fans in Lumumbashi. And like this, we come to an end, and these are our main top stories. The expected financial act of 2016 has stirred a massive controversy and is apparently facing utter rejection before it was even presented on MPs. Trade Minister Berti Belaib spoke out some outstanding issues related to the national trade sector. And peace talks over Syria's civil war are expected to resume in less than a week in the Austrian capital, Vienna. The end of our English news edition. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.